Hey, this is MK and Andrew from The Last Poneglyph, and today we're starting a new little show where we talk about the newest chapter that drops every Sunday, or not every Sunday if there's a delay. So this week, chapter 1097 dropped, which continues Kuma's backstory.
Woohoo! Kuma, he's here!
No, that's like, I've been loving these Kuma flashbacks because Kuma's already was such a great character, but, you know, we didn't know much about him. He was always just weird. They had sprinkled in bits and pieces about him, but it's been nice to really see exactly who he is.
And why he had a Bible the whole time.
I was about to say that, yeah! Finally explain his silly little Bible.
Yeah, which, again, that gives me the biggest question of all time for One Piece, alright? This could shake the foundations of the world.
Uh-huh.
What's Kuma's religion? Because it's the Bible. It's not like some other religious book. That's the Bible. Is Christianity a thing?
It is in One Piece. Yeah, apparently.
Okay, follow-up question. If Jesus died on the cross and came back in One Piece, is that a result of divine intervention? Or the Revive fruit? If Jesus was the first user of the Revive fruit, how did Brook get it? How did Brook get it?
I had no idea that's where you were going with that.
Yeah, because, okay, we have two lines here. It's either divine intervention, which means that in canon, in One Piece, God can just reach down from heaven, bless someone, and choose them not to die, which also is very confusing considering the whole lore around Nika and, like, that whole thing, the Drums of Liberation. Mm-hmm. But putting that aside for a second, does that imply that sometimes you just don't die because you don't want to? Or is it strictly like the devil fruits were God's gift to Earth?
So, this chapter opens with Pastor Kuma using what he basically did at Thriller Bark, which is taking the pain out of other people. And they do a really cool thing, which it was kind of already hinted at, but I like how they fully acknowledge that his power works where you have to transfer the power to someone before, like, you can't just get rid of their their power, their pain. You can't just get rid of their pain. You have to give it to someone else. And it was really nice seeing him do the just, I guess, on a weekly basis, taking the town's pain and, you know, doing it his own nothing happened, which instantly made him so much cooler to me. I mean, I already loved Kuma, but I feel like that also adds so much to that scene from Thriller Bark, because Kuma knows exactly what Zoro's about to do. Although, I would argue that what Luffy went through the night of Thriller Bark is probably way more pain than what these villagers go through on a weekly basis.
Okay, but he also does, like, one rep entire village's pain weekly for how many years? He is built out of pure suffering. He didn't lift a muscle to actually, like, work out. He just takes pain in and hopes that his muscles regrow afterwards.
This chapter also continues to explore Jenny, who was introduced. Was she introduced last chapter or the chapter before?
I want to say 2 chapters ago, but it could be the last chapter.
Since her introduction, like, she's very much resembled someone else, and so we all know something's gonna happen, right? We all know.
No, there's no way. If there's 2 places parents are safe, it's Disney movies and One Piece.
One Piece flashbacks, yeah, very much. That's not what I was referring to. I was referring to her being Bonnie's mom, because that technically hasn't been confirmed, but, like...
But, I mean, it is. We see her stuffing her face in every other panel.
Yeah, literally, there's several panels where she just looks like, Bonnie. So, Kuma basically resides in this lower half of Sorbet Village, which is where all the elderly people go, and they work very hard to give heavenly tribute to the king so he can give it to the celestial dragons. And so that's why Kuma takes away their pain, is so he knows he can at least do something to help them. Then the king of Sorbet Kingdom is just like, ew, and cuts that side of the village off. Which means everyone in the elderly village is basically, it's lawless. And if it's lawless, that means, hey, I can just pick someone off the street to be a slave.
Yeah, and I don't know who, like, they don't discuss who the band is that's coming and picking up slaves, but I feel like it's implied that it might also be the people from the north half of the kingdom. Just because of the way the chapter is framed and all the talk about, like, they're gonna look down on the south. So it's really interesting that suddenly, like, the North Kingdom not only decides to go and be a celestial dragon in terms of they're going to start paying the tribute, but also slavery. Is it all bad? Let's find out. And they start endorsing inhuman trafficking.
So Kuma's against that. He gets thrown in jail. Luckily, the island gets liberated by the Revolutionary Army, but before they became the Revolutionary Army, where it's just Ivankov and Dragon, and then they meet Kuma, and then they form what is the Revolutionary Army, with Ginny too. And then they flash forward a couple years, where now, you know, Ginny, Kuma, they're all revolutionaries, but somewhere between one panel and another, Ginny has been captured. That's kind of how it ends. She's just sitting there like, hey, I'm in the Revolutionary Army, this is so cool, and then Dragon's like, Ginny's been captured.
But it's alright, because if I know Dragon, who is the coolest character in One Piece, he will go and liberate them. It's gonna happen. Kuma's just gonna pop in there. It's gonna be awesome. There's no way it goes wrong. Because nothing has ever happened historically to any wife in Kuma's family. They all live happily ever after.
Another really nice detail I liked is where Kuma refuses to marry Ginny because of what happened with his father. Which, that means, wouldn't that also imply that Bonnie has Buccaneer blood too?
I mean, yes, it absolutely does, which is probably why the Celestial Dragon's going to be so mad at them when they come back to the present. But doesn't that also imply that Kuma had a child outside of wedlock? We're going back to Christianity again.
We don't know if they could get married after because apparently they haven't done anything yet.
They could get married on the low? Or would they get married after all this?
Well, I'm saying after all this because, like, we don't think Kuma could free her, and then, you know.
I guess if you already have the Navy on your back, like, there's no real stopping you.
I'm really looking forward to see how this Kuma flashback continues, because it's just been really nice seeing more on Kuma. I'm glad they are fully exploring him, and we get to learn about him. Unfortunately, I have been saying this since Egghead kind of started. I don't see Kuma lasting much longer. I hate saying it because I don't want anything bad to happen to Kuma, but it does seem very likely that they're building up to Kuma dying, which before, like, the first 600 or so chapters of One Piece, you're like, oh, unless you're a flashback character, you're not gonna die. And then Punk Hazard to Wano happened, especially Wano, and now I no longer feel characters are safe.
Yeah, there was a nice calm serenity around the whole thing where you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Luffy can take the poison. He'll be all right. I feel like if we were back in Impel Down in this framing, Luffy might have died in Impel Down.
I want a comparison to Yasue and the old man, the dad from Skypiea. Both of them had a moment where the main villain of that arc went out of their way to strike down that, like, older father figure. And in Skypiea, he just walks it off, and at the end is like, I'm still alive, we're good. That did not happen in Wano. Now I'm actually worried about people like Kuma, and I don't see Kuma making it out of Egghead. The perfect ending, somehow whatever happens at Egghead gets Kuma back to 100%, gets his memories back, and he's back to being, you know, the revolutionary he is. That's the good ending.
So what if he dies, but it would be so silly and goofy if they made child versions of the warlords that he could be reborn into? Are you trying
to turn the Seraphim, they were called Seraphim,
It would be, yeah, which is an angel. And it would be so silly if an angel was the form of resurrection for the most religious character we know.
My God. I hate that you brought it back to the Christianity and made it work.
Because it works.
It does.
Because the strings, they're all there.
This chapter, I think the last chapter confirmed it too, but the entirety of me reading One Piece, I thought Kuma's bare ears were just part of his little bucket hat.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. Is it an effect of the pawpaw fruit? It might be, I guess.
Okay, so I'm looking at 1096, and he doesn't have the bare ears in 1096, even though he does have the pawpaw fruit. Maybe it's either a hairstyle.
What if he has a what if he has like a cat ear headband, but it's just the bears?
That would be very silly.
Maybe that's part of his religion.
That was 1097, and there should be another chapter next week. There has been no announcement of delays, unlike JJK, but hopefully there is 1098. is next week, and we get to see what happened to Ginny, and maybe we'll finally learn about Kuma's religion.
I really hope so. It's so interesting to me.
Alright, and this has been MK and Andrew from The Last Polymaglyph. This is the first episode of our new little show we like to call Chapter Chat. We just talk about the new chapter. It was a blast discussing the chapter with you because we wait to talk about the new chapters until we're in a call able to record, so we get our genuine, honest discussion regarding the chapter. He's laughing because he tried to talk about the chapter earlier, and I said, no, stop.
It's also funny because I think about this chapter all day long after I read it, and I just have to sit there with my ideas and desperately try not to forget them.
Hopefully in the future we'll also get Gavin on board, because if you follow the TikTok, Gavin's the one who posts all the Super Sundays. He is still not caught up on the manga, so we obviously can't do this with him right now. He is still he's almost done with Wano.
And if you want to see Gavin on the show with us discussing all of his hot takes about what is the best arc, what is the best chapter, and how did this chapter go, make sure you harass him at twitter.com. We'll drop his personal Twitter in the link below. Absolutely tell him to hurry up and watch.
No, go to the TikTok. Go to our TikTok, and
go to the TikTok
every
too.
Super Sunday, go say Gavin finish catching up with One Piece. Finish reading
I want you
One
to
Piece.
cyberbully him. I want him to have not a moment of peace.
We've tried. We have been trying to get him to catch up for months now.
We tried real bullying him, and that didn't work. So clearly we need the power of the internet